Here we are, episode 108 of the Trash Talk Business Podcast. This is your weekly opportunity to grow, scale, and build your junk removal dream. Whether you're in landscaping, housekeeping, dumpster rental, junk removal, whatever it is you do, you've come to the right place. We're going to put in an hour's worth of work. Normally, it's the place where I introduce Casey and I say, hey, Casey, what are we talking about this week? Casey is down and out. Called me a little bit earlier. He raised over $150,000 this weekend for Gallon Fuel, which is a nonprofit for veterans he works with. And then he got taken out by the cold or the flu or the something. He's got a couple little kids. You know, kids are nasty. They go to school every day and get bugs. And, well, Casey picked one up along the way. So now it's all up to me. And I have, I don't know if Padre, maybe? Sure. I wouldn't say friend. I mean, Facebook friend. An associate. We'll call him an associate. A fellow junk removal data nerd. John, is it Aguirre? See, normally I ask how you speak. Is it Aguirre?
Yeah, most people say Aguirre. It's pronounced Aguirre. It's got a roll the R's.
I ain't fucking rolling that. Aguirre. Oh, fuck. Aguirre. I can't roll. You could pay me to roll an R, and I ain't rolling that R. All right. John is here from a Happy Junk Removal. A lot of you guys know him from the Facebook groups. He's all about the data. He jumps in, chimes in, speaks his piece. He's running an operation down there, Arizona, right?
Yeah, we're out in Mesa, Arizona. Yes,
I knew. All right, I knew. I 50-50 whether it was Arizona or New Mexico. So, John, welcome to the show.
Yeah, so I'm glad to be here.
So,
looking forward to the chat.
You get mentioned from time to time in the groups whenever we bring up data. I know I've seen some of your charts.
Yes.
You know, your break-even analysis. Cost of goods sold, all that good stuff. So we're going to dive into the origin story first, how you got into junk removal, how long you've been doing it, all that stuff. And then we'll dive into the data. So let me hear the origin story.
Oh, okay. Well, so growing up, my dad was a immigrant. So I'm first generation. We didn't have a lot of money, so we'd go to the landfill quite a bit. And back in that day, you could take stuff with you. So we would go to use the landfill's resources. We would find, good resources, good product, lumber, metal, whatever. My dad was use it to fix up his rental properties. So I just have those memories of going to the landfill with my father, and then we'd pick up scrap metal, do scrap metal runs, and clean up backyards, go to the dump, So I don't know if you could relate, but my dad could be going down the freeway and spot like a wrench in the road. He could tell you 9/16 or a ½ inch. So that's good talent right there. So I kind of inherited that. So we go by alleys, pick up trash, and take it home, and it was a lot of fun. It's just our yards always looked like junk yards. We had like 12 junk cars in one property one time. Yeah, we lived. It was very, very humble background. So
no,
in a travel trailer, I slept underneath the kitchen table because that was the only spot.
Oh wow. Yeah, no, some more background. So we used to. You're right. We would do. My dad always had side jobs, right? And he worked full time as a carpenter and owned his business. But then he would always, I guess it wasn't really a side job, but he would do things that weren't carpentry, and he would just bring his boys along, right? So a neighbor would be like, "Hey, I want to clean up my backyard." My dad's like, "Oh, I'll bring my boys by." And so what we would do is at the landfill we went to, if you're a resident, right, small car drop off, there was 3 30-yarders, and you would drive. You would pull your car near them, but you would load them from the top because you're elevated platform. Right. And what we would do before we started unloading any of our stuff, we would go in and pull all the metal. So I can remember going in and pulling cast iron tubs out of these 30-yarders. And of course, they would come by and yell at you because you're not supposed to go in the 30-yarder. We didn't give a shit. And so there'd be times where we pull 500 or 600 pounds of metal out, and our load would only be 300-400 pounds, and we would leave with more than we showed up with, and just like, get out of here. And that's on top of what we used to do, drive around nice neighborhoods on trash day, right? Or night before trash day rather, to figure out what they had. So you're second generation or first generation here. I'm first generation off the farm, and there's a similarity there because when you grow up, I look at my grandparents. on my dad's side, it's like none of them had jobs, right? They were on a farm, and a farm isn't a job. That's your life. That's your livelihood, right? It's a futile way to make a living. And when you think about people, right, in more medieval times and before we had this thing called capitalism, it was pretty much everyone just, raised enough livestock and raised enough food to survive. And then a little bit of excess you would barter and trade to get clothes and things like that. But that was it. Yeah. So growing up on the farm, they didn't have much money. So my dad figured out how to do it. And then when we got in the real world with, real bills and kids and Catholic education and all this shit, it's like he only made so much money. And eventually he would figure out how to, make a little bit extra. And so the way you grew up is similar. To this day, there's not a dumpster I drive by I don't want to pick up. There's not an appliance. If I see appliance on the side of the road, I drive a Jeep now. I'm always like, all right, can I fit that? Because I used to drive a purple van. I worked concrete for years, and I would drive a purple van for work or to work and stuff because it was my work van. And I had the back seats all taken out. However, man, I could go to working concrete, look at all the appliances that were in the area that we were working. Fill up my van on my way back home, right? And then stop at the scrapyard at, right when they're closing and throw off 500-600 pounds, make $30-40, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm a king. I killed it today. So I get that. I get that origin story, So now how long?
My father, he was a contractor, like a heavy equipment operator, but he always had like some kind of side on. So on weekends, we would go out and help him, do the yard cleanups, whatnot. But one of his side hustles was he had a barber shop in the backyard. So on weekends and the afternoons, all these guys would come over and get their haircuts in his shack, right? So self-trained barber in Mexico came over here, didn't speak English, couldn't pass this, the test. So he just did it on the down low in the backyard. So before he passed, he says, if I give you my barber chair, are you going to sell it? I'm like, no, let's go into my office. So this is the barber chair right here.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Right when you sat down, I saw that chair. I was like, that's not an office. I even saw it. I was just making a comment. I was like, that ain't an office chair. It's
I can jack it up and down. It's got hydraulic, so. But so it was a side hustle. I've always had a side hustle going on. I was just telling Maggie when we started this business, I started it as a side hustle. I said, I'm going to do junk removal. I can make another $8,000 or $10,000 a month on this, and it just kind of blew up, So here we are, So and I had a pressure washing business and a kitchen exhaust cleaning business before this, and this was going so well, I sold those off to stick to the junk removal.
Yeah. So real quick, Maggie, your wife?
No, she's my operations manager.
Oh, okay. All right. I wasn't sure. Yeah. And then, with respect, what was your father's name?
Juan. So I'm John Jr., Juan Jr. Yeah.
Got it. All right. No, that's it's important that we pay respect. My grandpa Jerry. I remember growing up on the farm in the summers with him, and man, he'd have a link of chain, like 6 links, and he'd keep it. Every link of the chain he would keep. That was his thing, right? He never knew when he might need 6 more links of chain.
Never throw anything away, dude. He never throw anything away. Yeah.
And I remember sitting there. He'd have twine, right? And I'd sit there and I'd have to count 25 pieces of twine and then tie them together, right? And I'd have to tie them up. So that twine became rope. So we'd cut them, and then I'd just sit there, and it's like you got a 3-foot piece of twine. By the time you tie it, you lose 6 inches, right? So now you got 3 foot, but it'd be like 25 feet at a time. And I would sit there and I had no clue what I was doing. Right? As a kid, I'm like, all right. And like I look at it now, like, yeah, most kids don't grow up that way, right? This is the 90s, right? We're not, I was born in the 80s. Like, this is prosperous times, and yet that's what I knew. That's how I grew up.
Yeah, so those habits learned from your parents, they carry on. It makes you more resourceful, right?
Oh yeah.
So, and in this culture, no one's resourceful. Just throw it away, get something new, right? And that's opportunity for us.
100%. Yeah, I mean, the amount of people, back in the day, I always think, why would anyone pay for junk removal? Everybody knows someone with a pickup truck, and it's like, not anymore. Not everybody knows someone with a pickup truck. Not everybody's willing. When I first started junk removal, I first started picking up appliances on the side of the road, and then when I found out people would pay me to go in their house, that was like mind blowing. And And then when I saw what people would pay 800 guy junk to do stuff, I'm like, oh wait, there's real money in this, right?
Yeah,
and that's how I was able to scale, because there was one thing. Whereas my brother, I have two brothers. My brothers and I banging jobs on the weekend. It was a whole other thing once we got, insurance, workers' comp, building, rent, trucks with payments, all that shit, And then you realize, oh, this is why you need to charge in order to scale the business, right? There's money in it, but you got to scale.
I'm the oldest of the brothers.
I'm the oldest. Oh yeah, I'm the oldest. So I have one brother who's 9 years younger than me. That is my brother Isaac, was my business partner, and then my brother Tyler, 6 years younger than me. And he was there all the years I did it as a side hustle. He was, my main guy. Him and I would go do jobs on the weekend, and it was him and a bunch of his high school and high school buddies that were all 18, 19, 20. If I tell them, hey, $50 for a Saturday afternoon, man, they'd be all over it.
Oh man,
Even my my first purple van, my aunt and uncle owned it, and they wanted to get rid of it, and they couldn't sell it because it was just garbage. And I remember I did the job. I had to get rid of a bunch of buckthorn and a bunch of weeds and a fence in their backyard. And so I did that job, and then also all these trees that they had fell. I got rid of all the branches, and I did that job in exchange for their van. And I did the job. I gave my brother and his two buddies $20 a piece and a case of beer. And that was it. I was there with them cleaning it up. And so we cleaned up. It was like 2 trailers. And then the van, I remember I thought the van would be like $400 or $500 to fix. And it was like $900. And I didn't have $900 to fix the van, right? I mean, my aunt and uncle basically gave me a van for working a Saturday afternoon. And I had like, I don't know, $20, $30 in dump fees, getting rid of yard waste. And I remember it was $900, and the van was at the mechanic, and I was like, man, I ain't even started this shit. I'm already out of business. Like, I already got the $900. So I remember I put it on my credit card, and I was like, back then I would never use my credit card, because I was pretty resourceful. I stayed within my means. But I remember it was like $938, and I was like, I don't know how the fuck I'm going to pay this. And that was it. And that was the start of my business. I got that purple van.
What kind of van was it?
It was it was a 1997. So this would have been when I would have done this. I'd have done this when I got back from Iraq. So this is 2008, 9? 9, no, 9, 10. It's probably 9 or 10, whatever. It was a 1997 Ford E350 Ecoline 12-passenger van. I took the seats out, and then on the bottom, I built the deck. It was a 2-part removable deck. So you could, so the deck, it was just 2x4s, 1x, and then 2x2s. So basically raised it up like an inch, and then plywood, so that way things could slide in and out, because I don't want to take away all the hardware. So you could take the 2 pieces of the deck out and then put the seats back in. So then my brother used that to tour when he was in a band. He ended up using that to tour. So I sold him my company, which was my truck and trailer, when I got a job working for Waste Management. So my brother bought my company, which was my van, not even truck. My van and my trailer was like $2,500. I sold it to him, and then he ran the business. And then I went and worked for Waste Management, deployed again. And then when I come back home from that deployment, I'm like, I'm never going to work for somebody else the rest of my life. And that was 2016, and I haven't looked back ever since.
Wow. Yeah. I had a little bit of a corporate background. I was at Motorola for 18 years.
Oh, so okay.
An equipment engineering group. I was a supervisor. I was a technician at first, and I got promoted up into management. And then I went into like middle management, and I hated it. I couldn't stand it.
Middle management.
I was just going nuts. And then when my first son was born, I just quit to be stay-home dad. And that's when I started working the night pressure washing, parking lot sweeping. And then, 3 kids later, it's gone well. Yeah.
How old are your kids now?
My oldest, he graduates next month. He'll be 22 in June. His company's called, and some of the guys know him. He's been at some of the conferences with me, Speedway Junk Removal. So he started his 3 years ago in Tucson. He ranks in the top 3 there in the valley there. So he's been focusing on school studies, but I expect great things from him now that he's done with school pretty soon, So when he was 12, he's like, I'd have him work, and he goes, 12-year-olds shouldn't have to do this kind of work, Dad. I'm like, shut up, pick up that dog poop, let's move. You know. So then he would sell some of the stuff we'd find on eBay. So he kind of took that up a little bit. He showed his younger brother, who's now 19, and he ran with that. He sells vintage clothes. The kid's, he's killing it. And he's a freshman in college right now. So you got 2 careers from junk removal, right? So these kids will never have a boss.
No,
you know,
you got to when you learn a skill or learn a trade, and you know how to acquire customers, you never need to work for anybody else the rest of your life, right? Yeah. You got to learn that skill, and that's one of the things. You know, I have a college degree, and I am an advocate against college, right? When the real world will teach you a lot more. Now, if you can get both, more power to you, right? The challenge is the kids that go to school, and after 4 years, they've learned concepts, they haven't learned how to actually do the thing. So when your boys learning how to do junk removal, the other one learned how to sell in the secondary market. Now you take the college, and that's the fuel to the fire, which will make it go. Versus you dump gasoline on nothing, you're just going to drown out a no experience individual. Well, and that's what's the problem. You know, you get kids graduating college with $100,000 in debt and no real skills. You know.
Yeah. Talking to a guy, he manages a local scrapyard. He says, his name's Kenny. He goes, how old do you think I am? I said, I don't know, you're about 24. He goes, I'm 21. He goes, I'm a marketing major. I've learned more here at the scrapyard than I have in college. You know?
Yeah. My father always told me, he tells us whenever he talks to people about business, my dad's got a degree, both my parents are college educated. I'm college educated, right? I'm like, so when I preach anti-college, is coming from an educated place. You know, my parents back then in the early 80s, it was like you couldn't even get a middle management job without a college degree, right? The world has changed. We all got Google at our fingertips. You can find out anything you want. Go to University of YouTube. It's $9.95 a month. If you don't want to watch the commercials, it's free if you're willing to invest 15 seconds of video, right? Whatever. My dad always told people that he taught us the stock market, right? Yep. And he did, because he would look at commodities prices, right? Buy low, sell high. And when you pick it up for free, everything's high, right? And so we knew what the price of scrap was, so we would sit on it, right? And you drive by, oh, it's 45 cents a pound on cans. Oh, it's 50 cents. Okay, once it gets to 60 cents a pound on cans, then we go in, right? And it was that stuff. Saturday mornings for me were taken in by loot. You know, I had a 5-gallon bucket with a little bit of die cast, a little bit of brass. I mean, you put it in the scale, and it's 2 pounds. 1 pound. Yeah. I remember the times you put on the scale, you're like, oh, come on, just hit 1 pound. You know, it's like, I want my $2 in brass, right? And they sort through and make, kid, you got less than a pound of brass. I'm like, come on, you know, it's like I made $12, $15, and I was like, yeah, I'm killing it today. Yeah. You know, and to this day, I walk by our scrap pile now. I mean, now we ship out, you know, quite a bit. We ship out Gaylords, and you know, when I send a scrap load out now, it's 5 figures every time, right? Wow. Because we've been doing it, and yet when I see a little part or piece in the steel dumpster, I get twitchy because I know every little part and piece adds up. I'd cut wire down to the inch, right? If it was more than an inch, we're clipping it, right? Because every little part and piece adds up. And when back in 2009, when I was laid off and I was unemployed and unemployable at the time, I sat there in my garage. I took apart everything there was to take apart. So when people are like, hey, man, why don't you take apart microwaves or computers or washers or dryers? It's like, I done took everything apart. I know what's worth it, what's not, because I already went through it. And this is, again, college degree doesn't tell you the shittier the washer, the better it is. When you get a shitty washer, it's all plastic housing. So it takes like 3 or 4 swings of a hammer and you can break out the motor. The motor's where the weight is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You go get yourself a Whirlpool or a Kenmore, a nice washer. That's all metal brackets. Now I can't break it out with a hammer, and it ain't worth my time to disassemble it, you know, with a socket. So it's like that's the education I got growing up in the scrap business.
Yeah. So at your location, do you guys cut open like the AC compressor motors?
No, I don't. I used to. No, we don't mess with anything Freon. And that was after years of doing it. I used to take apart. I wouldn't take apart refrigerators. There's not enough there. But I used to take apart dehumidifiers and AC units. We do work with. What's that?
It's messy. Those AC units are messy.
Oh yeah. It's messy. It's not good for the environment. So the only time we do it now is we do have a contract with a HVAC company, and they drop us off ACE units, but they're all the free end's already been removed, so it's all mitigated. It's already cut, so there's no pressure. There's 100%. Yep. So then we're just merely cutting the the coil away from the steel. I mean, not even cutting. It's 4 screws on top, 2 cuts, pull it off, and away you go.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's also like motors. People are like, why don't you take apart a motor? I'm like, and I did a video one time taking apart a motor.
Yeah.
It's not worth it to me. Right. I know it's time consuming for 2 to 3 pounds of copper. I can't get them done in less than 10 minutes. It's a pain in my ass. The other thing with motors is it's double the price of steel right off the bat. Whatever steel is, if steel's 10 cents a pound, motors are 20. 30 in the motors bucket. They're heavy enough as they are. There's other things I can do with my time.
Yeah, we separate the motors out. We don't break them down. We just have like a motor pile, a motor bin. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I make more other than steel. Steel is obviously my number 1 SKU. The next thing I make the most money on is copper wire.
Yep.
Because it's prevalent. That's it. Right? Like, yeah, brass is more expensive. Copper is more expensive. The thing is, maybe people have a couple pieces of brass in their house, random things, right? A lamp or some old hardware. Copper, unless they got, yeah, exactly. Now, copper wire is everywhere. Every appliance has got a cord on it. Everyone's got 10 extension cords in their house because they do. Because they bought one because they couldn't find the one they needed, or they got the ones that they use only for their Christmas lights or whatever. So I make more money on copper wire than anything else. Because of the scale of it. And so I always tell people, cut every cord.
So the copper wire and the steel. You don't really break it down past that.
So how big is your operation down there?
So we have 4 trucks. In 2023, we had 2022 we had them like 3.5 going all the time, and then one was a backup truck. 2023 thing just like came to like a screeching halt, like November, December 2022. So now we have two trucks going. I have one backup. I'll occasionally take the 3rd truck and I'll do 1 or 2 jobs myself, but we have 2 trucks going pretty steady right now.
And then it's you, an operations person, and half a dozen guys?
4 employees.
Okay. Yeah. So what do you spend most of your days doing now?
Whatever, just so the last 3 years I was really focusing on that COGS automation. And I'm really happy with the results on that. We took our COGS down from 35% down to 20%. That's all goes to the bottom line. So I'm happy with that. So my next project's going to be to work on a dashboard for marketing, because I think we can do a lot better than what we do right now. I'm very disorganized. I have a very short attention span, and I don't sit here too long. I have to go off and do something. I can't.
Oh yeah.
I just bounce around on stuff. So I need structure. I need a screen that says, this is what you guys did today. And, I need, so I have working with my wife. She keeps me on track. And I know my weaknesses, but I can spin that and make it work, So we want to build a marketing dashboard. Yeah.
So let's talk about this COGS tool. So my COGS used to be at 40%. I got them down to 33%. I would love to get them under 30%.
So
and getting them down to 20% would be music to my ears.
Of the guys I talk to, they struggle to get below 30. It's usually the dump fees make it prohibitive. Like, what's your tonnage dump fees where you're at?
So for a blended average is about $100 a ton. So I spend right around 5% on disposal. Okay,
so we're about 3%. So if it's $100 a ton, it's going to be tough to get it.
My biggest opportunity is in my labor. That is. I mean, my COGS are disposal, fuel and labor. And disposal, I can only move the needle so much because, to your point, $100 a ton, there's a price to play. We used to be over 8%, around 8%. And then the goal was get it under 7. Then it was, let's get it under 6. And now we're pretty steady under 6. there ain't much meat left on that bone, you know.
So how about in terms of increasing your prices?
We did a price increase earlier this year, so that'll obviously that led to it.
So how do you compete with like the big guys in terms of pricing?
We're doing a market analysis right now. I would say I'm at or a tick above most of the competitors in my area.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I look at us as we're a premium brand. Because of our environmental responsibility on the back end. We do tours of our facility. We go out of our way to educate the youth and people, the community of our recycling techniques. That's a premium service versus trucking a truck or, you know, the franchise in the world that are loading up trucks and taking to landfill every day.
Yeah. I know at least around here, the bigger brands don't do a lot of recycling.
No, the thing is, whenever you and I had a kid, local competitor here from 800 guy or from College Hunks on, and on their website it says 40 to 60% gets recycled. I go, cool. How do you track those metrics? He's like, well, we don't. I go, so that's my issue, right? And again, like consumers aren't going to argue that much. I know what I do because I track it, and we have a facility, right? I have a 27,000 square foot facility where we recycle material.
Wow.
People come to our facility. Actually, I plugged this. I announced it last week. I announced it because I made it up at the time. The weekend of October 25th, mark your calendars. We're going to do either a mastermind or a meetup. Conference, I think, is prohibitive. Actually, I need Taylor. I mean, I can pull up the survey.
November to be awesome. I'd love to go.
October? What, you can't do October? I'm doing it at the end of October because I figure people still have money then.
Any week in November, I can go. I'm there though.
What's wrong with October?
Oh, I just had the previous commitment that day, the 25th.
All right, fair enough. I'm looking to see if I can find the survey. We also did a survey for the people listening live or in the future. We do have a current survey up right now. We're going to keep it up for 2 weeks to figure out which logo you guys like best. I'm good looking at all of them, so it doesn't matter to me. I mean, it's the same picture. There we go. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I actually here John posted 6 days ago. John and what do you call it? There's Maggie. All right, Maggie, your operations person. Here we go. Okay, so conference was the number 1 vote right now. So we said a meetup. Nobody voted for that. Mastermind. Oh, John, you put November is better.
Yeah,
I like that. I didn't even see that. All right. Well, to be fair, we've only had 4 people take the survey, so it's not like we're lighting the world on fire right now. November. That's funny. November would be better. I mean, I've gone as far as putting up the survey, so maybe. All right, so we're looking more conferencey, less mastermindy.
Anytime you get a bunch of junk guys together, it's a blast. I have a really good time.
Oh no, that's the thing. So I want it to be more than a meetup. Yeah. That's my ideal, right? Because I want to have some learning. I can, I can pull a conference off here because I have a big enough facility. And there's a what do you call it? A hotel nearby, a mile, not even a mile away. That's nothing fancy, but we could get a room at. So, all right, we need more people interested because that's what it comes down to. I mean, my cost of goods are nil. If the group is small enough, my cost of goods are next to nil because we just host everything here. I got 2 conference rooms here in the building, and if anything, we might get a little tight in the one. It's a little bit bigger. All right. There we go. Taylor did find me. And then Taylor. All right. Let's talk about this COGS tool. That's what you're kind of famous for. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's I went to Justin Walsh's. He had a Mastermind. It's about 3 years ago, and I took my son with me, and that's when he got excited about junk removal because he's partying with some of the younger guys. So now it's cool, right? So. Everyone in that class understood what COGS was when Justin went over it. And I lied and I raised my hand. I understood it, but I was clueless, right?
You know what? My live show, I do a live show every Monday at 3:30, right before this show. And my topic was, it's cruel to be kind. Stop lying to yourself and everybody else. It's better to be a fool and raise your hand and say you do not know what you're talking about than keep your hand down and be a fool the rest of your life. So it's funny because we all struggle with that, right? No one wants to be the one that admits they don't know some shit, and yet We do it all the time. So
but we came back to Arizona, and I'm sitting here with my son trying to figure it out. Like, what's so difficult about it? And now, in hindsight, it's so simple, right?
Yeah.
In order for me to learn it, I had to build like a spreadsheet calculator. And now I don't need, I could just, so I built a calculator, and people are all supposed to like, how much should I charge? And that's so annoying that people don't know how to understand.
I know. So, we bitch every week about why are you putting like, why is these Facebook groups, instead of being best tricks and tips, it's how much should I charge for this job? It's like, what's the value to your customer?
Question, there should be an AI that picks out that question and boots them to a different website.
Yeah.
It boots them right to the calculator. Before you waste people's time, go do some, a little bit of research, plug in some numbers, your dump fees, your fuel, and all that, and that'll give you an idea of how much you charge. If that doesn't help you, then hey, I did my research. I still don't know how much to charge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did that calculator. So I made up the name cogculator.com, and then I just send that to people here. Try the calculator. Have you seen the calculator, Andy? Have you tried it?
I've only seen it.
Oh, type in cogculator.com. Cogculator. cogculator.com.
COGULATER.
Like calculator, but instead of calc, it's cog.
Yeah, it doesn't. I got calculator.net.
No, cog.
Like that. I got COGU later.com. COGCULA.
Oh,
that's why.
Later.
Let me see if I can find it.
Cogculator.
It doesn't like it. COGCULATER. I'm misspelling something.
COGCULATOR.com. Cogculator.com. Do www.cogculator.com.
Yeah, it does not like. That's the thing. I'm searching for it in Google, so it doesn't like it.
Oh shoot! Where'd Andy go?
Am I dead? No, I'm still here, right? Or did you die? Okay.
Here he is, right here.
Oh, I might have it here. We might have something. We're spinning. Now I'm spinning. Now it's like, what are we doing here? There we go. All right, now we're cooking with peanut oil.
All right, let me log in. So it's going to ask some basic questions on there, and then just plug it in, and there you go.
Here we are. So let me share it. Here we go. We're sharing it to the screen. We're doing the thing. We're pressing this button. Does that work? Taylor, what am I doing wrong here? All right, here we go. So this is why Taylor's in charge. All right. Okay, so I can come in here. We'll just run the play. Okay, so here's the calculator. Okay, so total revenue. So my trailer, I charge $7.99. That's what I'm doing here, right?
Yep.
Total revenue. Okay. So my dump fees, I'm going to say on that are, let's say 100. Yeah, because it's about a ton, right? I mixed all the things. Okay. So then I have gallons of fuel added. 5. So you do this on a per job?
Yeah. So this isn't as automated as a spreadsheet, but the one we fill out at the end of the day tallies up all the jobs for the day.
No, I got you. Yeah. Well, I want to show. So hourly rate, that's for one guy. Yeah. So if I'm paying, I'm going to say 20. Number of guys 2. Nope, negative 2. What am I doing here? 2 guys.
Yeah.
I ain't buying them lunch. We'll call it 25 hours. All right, so now we're going to say scrap.
You sell me scrap?
Yeah, you'll say 25 hours. Yeah, you're doing it on a per job. And then a job like that is 3 hours for a full trailer.
Including drive time.
Yeah, we'll say 4 hours drive time, unload time, all the things.
Calculate it.
All right, so here's my... Oh, there we go. All right. So there you go. So I told you I'm around 33, 34%. This is, if I did one trailer, that's about where I live.
That's good. Unless you raise your prices.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's right here. Yeah, you're right. If I say, hey, let's go, what happens? I go 900. It's going to drop it down to probably under 30%. Oh, 30, 31. There you go. Oh, yeah. No, here's what I love. So I saw the other day, I seen your spreadsheet. I've never seen this before. I seen your super high-speed spreadsheet. Yeah, I love it because for the average person that gets intimidated by spreadsheets, this is not intimidating.
Right.
Now me, man, give me a good Excel spreadsheet. Let me tell you something. I am at peace with a good Excel spreadsheet. Like that's where I do my work. And so I know my numbers because I do my monthly KPIs. I don't do, and on a weekly basis, we monitor the number one number. We monitor two numbers, which is disposal cost as a percent of service revenue, not total revenue, because I want to see what it is service revenue, because I don't want scrap or potential resale to impact the number. Right. And then I also look at my dollars per hour. And I know I got guys on the low end making 15. I got guys making over 20. So my overall dollars per hour goal,
revenue per
hour for that. Yeah, revenue. Yep. Service revenue. Yep.
Revenue per hour per person.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yep. Revenue per hour per person, and that factors in, morning, noon, night, all the not just because you could have a vanity number and say, oh man, we got that one trailer job done in an hour and 10 minutes. It's like cool. How long did it take to drive there? How long did this take? How long did that take? And all of a sudden people are like, oh, was like, yeah. When you're trucking a truck and you got nothing else to do, fine. You can look at those vanity metrics, but you got to look at the whole picture, And so for us, obviously our salaried employees are taken out, but our hourly guys, it's like, every dollar is costing me money. Every minute you're doing, we have Quick Trips nearby. That's our gas station, right? Sitting in the fucking Quick Trip, get you a honey bun, like that's killing my dollars per hour,
Yeah. So it's valuable tool. Quantify, measure. You have something to keep yourself accountable.
And you share that information, have that lead the conversation with your guys every morning.
Oh, dude. So I was here Saturday, and end of the day, the guys come in. We just had one truck going Saturday, and they look kind of down in the dumps, like what happened? It was my cogs were like 65%. I'm like, okay, it's cool. We're gonna have bad days. He goes, we had small jobs. We're driving all over the town. I'm like, it's all right. So my cogs happened to be really good that day because I did a couple of heavy scrap metal runs. Right, got some big money. So I said, between the three of us, we did great. It's okay.
It was. And that's the thing. It's like we know, we have a sweet spot. We're around 3 trailers are a sweet spot, right? Because we can crank those out relatively quick. As soon as it gets past 3 trailers, it starts being a grind, right? Those 4, 5, 6 trailer jobs, they take longer per hour. And we also know that if we're doing nothing but quarter trailers all day, single items, quarter trailers, up to a half trailer, basically, well routed, I can have a guy go out there and crank $3,000 in a day because they're never really filling the truck up.
Yeah.
And we use box trucks so we can fill more than a quarter, 4 quarters at a time. So they're cranking all day. And when it's well routed, it works. So we know it's like we as a team, I run between 4 to 6 trucks a day. The goal is that we as a team do well, because there's some days, we have one, you might have one truck where they do $1,200 and takes them 10 hours. And that was the best they could do because of routing. Or, you build a job for a trailer and you get there and it ends up being a quarter trailer and your next job can't go early. And now you got this, it doesn't make sense to drive back. Downtime. So you go to the next customer and just sit there and look at YouTube for 10, 15 minutes. Operational liabilities like that happen every day. And the goal is that your team understands it and they're making decisions based off it. Do you compensate your guys based off of COGS or revenue share, or what's it for them?
If our COGS come in under 20%, I give them a bonus, and we divide it up depending on how big the job was. If it was a hoarder job, I'll throw some more money. I haven't really dialed in that number yet, but anytime it's below 20%, there's going to be some money going around. Especially we're having a good month.
Oh, yeah. So what have you seen? Let's talk about that. You said things slowed down last year. How have things been this year?
Oh, we're ahead of 2022 space finally, so it's good. It picked up. I don't know. We had a couple of big jobs, but I just our average job size is up, but the total job count is a little bit down from 2022.
What's your average job size?
Right now it's 444. I think that's right.
Yeah. So so our average job size 540. I mean, but we also do demo in some of those larger commercial jobs. We'll throw that number off, and I know that. So yeah, but we're in the ballpark, $500 average job. So your job count is down, but your job average size is up.
Yeah.
What's your full trailer price?
$798.
Okay, yeah, I'm at $799. So we're speaking the same language here. Yeah.
But if there's some logistics issues, we throw in labor charges, so we don't just charge full truck rate. If it's a hoarder house, we're charging labor. You know?
So I call those inconvenience fees.
Yeah.
So hoarder houses are one of the ones that we do have special pricing for, and same with some commercial jobs, because our pricing is based off of standard household items, right? Yep. And so if we have a big commercial job where all the stuff's up on like the 10th floor and we got to take an elevator and it's gonna be a lot of farting around or it's overnight, then we do our pricing, time and material, less blended rate on the capacity.
Right.
Here we go. This guy or girl, Collins, Evie? I don't know. Looks like someone's trying to, they want you to, I don't know.
Need help crowdfunding campaign. Huh.
Yeah. Sounds spammy. Anyhow. Also, found out today, Taylor might jump, whatever. Taylor told me right before this, we cannot, what's that?
Oh, Taylor, your IT guy.
Yeah, our producer. That we cannot stream to our VIP page anymore because Facebook changed something, and I'm already speaking way above my pay grade. So like a month ago, 2 months ago, we changed it where we are now live on all platforms versus only in our VIP group. And I guess we were ahead of the trend because as of this week, you can no longer use a third-party service like we use StreamYard to stream to our private groups because the Facebook overlords,
they don't like
Zuckerberg and his fucking beard don't like it. Anyways, so here we are, killing it. Here we go. Taylor typed it in the group chat because he knows I don't know the fuck I'm talking about. Face group turned off third-party apps so we can't stream the VIP group anymore. Yep, that's it. There you go. I pretty much said all those words. Third-party apps. That was the missing key indication. All right. So you got a COGS tool. You measure COGS every day. You reward your employees based off of COGS. What else are you doing in your business that allows you to be successful every day?
I think I try to instill a good culture with the guys. I'm out there getting dirty with them, setting the pace sometimes. I'll jump on top of a dumpster to reorganize it before they will. So set an example, and I think just having the customer have a good experience. Like we want happy people. If you're not happy working here, just come talk to me. I'll help you find something else.
Let's talk about the name. I mean, that's what you're known for, probably as much as anything else.
Yeah. So it was a kind of a whim. I changed it the last minute. It was going to be Express Junk Removal, and it had Federal Express type logo. And I'm going to make it happy, it's stuck. So it's been a lot of fun, dude. It's more, for me, it's a lifestyle. It's, it's fun,
You're jovial, and the thing is with junk removal, it generally has a negative connotation, right? The word junk is a negative connotation word, right? It's what's left over, it's refuge, it's garbage, it's trash. Well, when you say happy junk removal, right? You're also, you're happy to share your ideas, you're happy to, grow the business with your family, you're happy to be, self-employed, or own a business. Like it is a lifestyle, as you put it.
Yeah, it's fun. I go out of town for 2 or 3 days, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. Let's go back home.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's just good work. Resources. I like talking to other junk guys. I call them my competitors all the time. We talk all the time.
Yeah,
going on. All the time.
I get along with the guys. There's a guy. It's like 35, 40 minutes away from me. We saw each other at the Home and Garden Show. We chopped it up for like a half hour, and in a good way because, we know there's enough for both of us. Last week I sat down with one of my competitors and I did a full P&L audit. It's funny you bring up the COGS, right? So I basically did that for him, utilizing his P&L because you want to know, why, where's his money going? and not why, but like where the money's going and how does it compare against the industry standards? Because the financials are not a strength of his. And I spent 2 hours with the guy on a Wednesday after work, teaching him how to be better at running a junk removal company. Because I told him I would,
that level of knowledge, you think it'd be more prevalent, but I've only heard 2 people use the word Proforma in junk removal. That's yourself and Justin. Yeah, nobody else knows what Proforma is.
No, and it's really simple. Yeah, so simple. Here's how you do a Proforma. Take your P&L statement from the previous year, right? You got to start with your base. So Proforma is Latin for performance, a form based off performance. That's what it means. It's like form performance, right? Proforma. You take your P&L. Now you have all your line items, right? You look at the data. What does the data tell you? Okay. And then you change. I always start with my top line revenue. You can change you can start with your profit. It's a little, I'll say you start with your top line revenue. You say, okay, this is what I did this year. Let's say you did 100,000. Fine. Okay. I want to do 150,000 next year. So I'm going to grow 50%. Sounds good. Then you separate, you got your COGS, right? So you got your top line, other income, you got your COGS,
OpEx.
Gross profit, operating expense, bottom line, right? Yeah. Net profit. Proforma just says, okay, this is where we finished. I'm going to update my revenue. My COGS are going to be the same. My fixed expense, my operating expense is going to be the same. Okay, now I have a Proforma. That's it. I'm just saying I'm predicting the future. And then you look at it and say, hold on, where, and this is where you come in, where are my COGS? If my COGS are 40%, and I heard Happy say his are at 20, and I heard Andy say he's going to get his under 30, where in this 40% do I have opportunity? And you look for the opportunity. Then you look at your fixed expenses, right? Like advertising. Advertising is one of the biggest expenses you have on your operating expenses that you can adjust, right? If you're renting a building, the rent to rent. Insurance, probably insurance, right? I mean, there's some things that your truck payment's your truck payment, Yeah. So advertising is one of your operating expenses that it's not variable. It's not a COG because it's not directly tied to work, right? And yet there's a variability to it. So that's why I say, well, how do you adjust that? Well, if we spent $10,000 last year on advertising, what worked? Well, I don't know. I never kept track of all my customers heard about me. Well, then we don't know where to adjust. I mean, this is simple Proforma. Now, Justin Volz, he said he always builds like 4 different ones for worst case scenario. I build mine where I can plug in one number. I build my Proforma where I can plug in one number, which is my top line revenue, and it'll change out every single one. That's it. So I can build as many Proformas as I want like that because I built the form. It's taken me 8 years. And last year to this year, I did almost no tweaking to the form. So I guess it took me 7 years to build a Proforma where I'm like, oh yeah, that's the one. That's hot, right? And now I can take other people's data, and it takes me a minute or minutes, to make it happen.
Yeah, so I didn't know all these years I had a Proforma. I don't know what it was called. I just called it my big picture spreadsheet, right? And
I like that. That's hot. Big picture spreadsheet.
I don't know, had a fancy name, but I tell my kids, I tell my boys, I go, every man should have a spreadsheet, right? Because they walk in the office, someone's looking at a spreadsheet, right? So every man should have a spreadsheet. If I had any daughters, I'd tell daughters should have a spreadsheet too. But so you got to know where you're going, where you think you're going, so you have something to compare to, right?
Right.
You make your spreadsheet your reality, right? If it's not, adjust it.
There you go. And you know what? There you go. And you got to start with reality. You notice the first step in the Proforma, I said, take your P&L statement from the previous year, quarter, month, right? Because you got to base it in reality, right? Like if you're not in reality, what are we doing? If someone's like with you, if you're like, hey, I'm going to get my COGS under 20%, I'd be like, yeah, good luck with that, right? Yeah. But you said, hold on, I was at 40, I was at 30, 35. That's what you said. I was at 30, 35, and I started tracking it, change behavior. And now I'm under 20. Like, hell, I want to get me some under 20 COGS. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, right? It's pretty good. Yeah.
I tell people this business is a 40-40-20 model. 40% fixed expense, 40% variable expense, 20% profit. That's how you get to 20% profitability in this business. Again, that is hillbilly math, right?
Let's say it again, 40, 40, 20, so 20% profit, and the 40 fixed, what's the other 40?
40 fixed, 40 COGS, 20 profit.
Okay. That's good. Yeah.
Right. Now, again, that's a starting point. Now, when you first start, your COGS are probably 15% because you're not factoring paying yourself.
You're not paying labor.
Right now, if you actually pay yourself, it's probably closer to 40% because you're paying yourself a lot to do an entry-level job. Right? Like, that's it. And people are like, oh, you can't get to 20% profit. Yeah, you can. Right? Because once you start buying those trucks, it's like you said, I had 4 trucks. Well, now whether you get rid of it or you take the insurance off of it or park it and go get right. Yeah, if you got 4 trucks you're running 2 a day, you got to get rid of one. Right? Yeah. Or if you have a warehouse, you got to grow into your warehouse. When we moved to the warehouse, we were running like 2 or 3 trucks a day. We cannot sustain. I cannot pay my bills running 3 trucks a day with a warehouse that's 27,000 square feet. So what I got to do? I got to run 6 trucks a day.
Yeah. Right? So what, in terms of growth, what caused you to see the biggest jumps? I know what it was for me in the last couple of years, but what created your biggest jumps?
Consistency
and revenue.
Consistency. The biggest. So we had an operations person left, and last year we did not have a good operations person. So whether it's marketing or operations or sales, there is nothing like Einstein said it. I think the greatest force in the human in mankind is compound interest. Right, it's the greatest force, right? Yeah. And that is no different than business. When you are consistent, that is when we grow. This is the issue. This is the issue I see with a lot of junk roll companies. They slowed down the second half of 2023. All of a sudden, the faucet turned off after Q2 last year. So Q3, they were tight with their money. Q4, they didn't advertise, and now they're wondering why they're struggling Q1. I see junk roll companies that are down 15, 20% in Q1 because they were inconsistent. Or they were flat last year, and it wasn't until the end of last year they realized, shit, we didn't grow from 22 to 23. Now we need to spend money on marketing. Now they might be flat or up. Yeah, we were consistent in our marketing efforts all year last year. We were consistent in Q1 of this year. And we got a lot more consistent on doing the follow-up and in operations, right? Responding efficiently. So years ago when we were part of the franchise, I was very particular about operations. When I got out of the business for 2 years, it faltered. When I hired somebody else to run the business, it faltered. When we're consistent in operations, everything works smooth because now we're getting back to customers better, faster, more efficient. We're scheduling jobs more efficient. We're seeing, oh shit, we need to hire more employees. We can predict that more. We're consistent. We look at our revenue every single week. That way, we know, hey, are we on track or off track? Because what gets measured gets addressed. And if we're on track, cool. What are we doing that's working? How do we do more of it? If we're off track, what do we need to start doing to get ourselves back on track? And so consistency is the answer. Consistency in your operations, consistency in your marketing, consistency in your data collection. We use EOS, so our scorecard. That's been it. There's no other magic pill. And for the guys that are chucking a truck or they're barely scaling, the reason why they have up and down, and I've done plenty of consulting, it's like, oh, I had a shitty May. So in May I was slow, so I went out and did a bunch of networking events, and then I had a good June, and then I was busy in June, so I didn't do networking, and then July sucked, so now I had time to do networking, so I started networking in July, so I had a good August. And it's like, well, why don't you just network the whole time, and you're not going to have
those oscillations.
Consistency. So what about you? I don't know that your answer is going to be near that, but what is your answer as to what has caused
my big jump was I did a revamp my website about 3 years ago, and that was pretty big. And after that, things started to take off.
Oh, when I went from chucking a truck to legit, boom, skyrocket. because having the website, and we did a rebrand 2 years ago, and we saw a huge bump from that because people are like, oh shit. Like, I'm not saying rebrand every 6 months, but probably 3 to 5 years max. I'd say every 3 years you need some level of rebranding.
Yeah. Huh. That's interesting. I hadn't heard that.
Yep. So I found this out on Friday. I was in a CEO roundtable, and I was one of the guys in my roundtable owns an insurance company, and he's like, we haven't changed our brand in 15 years. We've acquired other brands, and he said what ends up happening, even in the insurance world, which is like stale and stagnant and nothing sexy about it, right? When they do a rebrand, all it does is for their current customers, they feel empowered. For their employees, they're like, oh shit, we're making an investment. And for people that didn't notice them before, now they notice them for the first time.
Gotcha.
So there. Yeah. So I would say every 3 to 5 years, something that will build your brand. Maybe you change the logo. Maybe you I'm not saying change the name of the company.
Yeah.
Right. But maybe like with you with Happy Junk Removal, a tagline underneath. Right.
Yeah, we just Pat Balance sent me a cool logo over. I think we're going to switch the logo over. We have this default little smiley face.
Yeah.
But he did a real cool looking little image that he says will be more easier to assign to memory for consumers.
There you go. So Camel Crew started without me. I was sitting in a 2-year non-compete, and their old logo, I called it the turkey logo. It's supposed to be an eagle. It looked like a fucking turkey. I never liked it. And so when I took the company back over in March, my first thing was, no, we're rebranding. We are getting a new fucking logo. I did not like the old logo. That was like first order of business. And when we did that, then people took notice, and now people are like, ooh, I really like your logo. So, you can see the logo here. Like, so we're not changing the logo anytime. However, like it's like I got a hat, shout out lady in, where the hell was she from? She was on that show maybe 3 months ago. She sent me free hats. Shout out lady in lacrosse. Taylor, look that up. Let me give a shout out because you don't have a hat on. In case he's not here, we don't have an unofficial sponsor of today's episode. Although I did use KNS. Let me grab their hat real quick. I did use KNS junk removal. They sent me pens a while back. And anyways, you won't be able to see the pen. Anyways, they also sent me a hat. So we'll say KNS junk removal up there in the Twin Cities, Forest Lake, Minnesota, to be specific. Shout out to those boys. I do like the hat. I like their logo. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. So actually, we'll do that. If you are a fan of the show and you want me to give you a shout out, send me swag. Right? I'm a hat guy. Send me swag. That's it. I mean, send me some shit. And
I'm gonna send you a brain shirt.
A what? That?
My Mastermind brain shirt. You've seen my Mastermind diagram?
No, I haven't. Oh wait. Oh yeah. Wait. Is that the brain of the junk rule operator? Dude, hold on. Right after I got that, I sent that in my group text with my operations guy, my project manager, and my ops guy.
Right.
And they got a kick out of it. They're like, who the fuck designed that? That's awesome. Oh man, they got a kick out of that. I gotta find it now. I want to show you that I sent it to him, so I was so happy. Of course, I got like 37 fucking group texts going on at any given time with my.
So you're asking what I do now. So I'm starting to shift a little bit into like coaching, consulting. Yeah. So people ask me in the Facebook group, hey, can you give me some tips? Yeah, there it is. The people say, "Hey, can I pick your brain?"
There it is. There is the junk removal mastermind. No, I love this because there was something when you had COIs on here. I'm like, yeah, I can never find the COI. Like again, when you're an ops guy, you're like, oh yeah, I fuck with this.
Well, that's Maggie's brain. Mine's a little bit different, but
this is the ops brain. Yeah.
Yeah. So when people ask me for help, like consulting, I'll text them a picture of that brain. I'm like, this is what I'm going to go over. This is what I'm going to teach you because this is what I do.
What is it you do here?
And we start with a big picture, which is a Proforma. So I help them get it set up with their spreadsheet, and then I customize it to whatever they need.
I like it. All right. Well, hey, we'll shout out if you want some consulting. I stay out of consulting. I've done it. Casey's done it. When we first started the podcast, we got a lot of people requesting. I realized it wasn't, it isn't that much fun. It's more fun to have a conversation one time, or like the guy the other day. I'll sit down with you one time. I'll scrub your Proforma, or well, your P&L. That's interesting to me. That's it. Anyways, Gator Garb, Megan Murphy. She's the one that hooked me up with this hat. She was on the episode a while back. So yes, if you send me free stuff, that's what we'll say. If you send me free shit, I will rep it on the show, which gets you absolutely nothing except for the listeners. That's it. We're not doing sponsorships. You send me free shit, I will talk about it on the show because I'm a nice guy like that.
I have the brain posters. I'll send you a poster too.
Yo, send me I want the poster because I'll hang it up in our operations office. Yeah. And I'll just say, like, hey, I had John on from Happy Junk Removal, right? And like, again, this is when I talk about this industry, I'm excited about it. I love this industry. I love talking about recycling. What you said very early in the show, which made me already knew I was going to like you, was you were talking about when you were a kid going to landfill, how you're picking up resources, right? When we look at the stuff that we pick up as resources, like when we talk about the stuff we put on our trucks, we call it product or material. We don't call it trash. We don't call it junk. We don't call it crap. It is product. It's a resource. It has value. So like when you said the word resources, I'm glad I remembered. I really wanted to highlight that you're like, hold on, there is value in this lumber. There's value in this metal. Last week I was on the morning TV show, the Morning Blend here, and I spent 7 minutes talking about what you can do to recycle yourself. Before you even hire me, what can you do? And I said, hey, if you put a bunch of lumber at the end of your driveway this time of year, I guarantee you someone will pick it up because people are looking for firewood because they're going camping and shit, right? It's like, don't put wood in the landfill when it can be used as a fuel for a fire. Like, things like that people don't think about.
Instead of junk companies, we should be called like resource allocation providers or something like that, you know?
Well, I absolutely want to rebrand this industry. That is on my 2024 list of shit to do, is rebrand this industry that we're in.
Resource allocation, rack.
Ooh, the resource allocation.
Professional. Let's see, resource
allocation. Because so what's interesting here, what's interesting is last week, the Institute for Scrap and Recycling Industry, rebranded as REMA, which is Recycled Materials Association. That's significant. That is significant. The largest player got rid of the word scrap. All right, what do you call it? Resource
allocation professional. The rap man. Rapper. I don't even know rappers. No,
John, we might be onto something.
Resource. I don't want to give you a bad rap. Resource allocation professional.
I would never have used.
Think about that.
I know. I don't know if I love the word allocation because it's all. I love the fact you use the word
resource distribution professional, RDP.
Yeah, because there is the I went to that conference last year in February. Reverse logistics. No, reverse logistics. So I thought we were reverse logistics, but reverse logistics is like a new product in store that gets like kickback. So that doesn't work. Because I look at it as responsible. But I've always looked at us as we have two choices. We can either be in the waste industry, which is where traditional junk removal falls in, or we can be in the recycling. So we're really frontline recyclers, frontline collectors to take things out of the waste stream and put them into the recycling stream. Yeah.
Resource.
See?
Yeah, you got me thinking now what's going to be good for that.
I know. That's
we need
let me you know what? Hold on. What if because I'm the fucking man, I do what I want. What if we change the fucking you know what? November 1st looks as good as fucking October 25th. Could you do November 1st? If we did November 1st, could you do it?
I'm there.
We might have audibled it. We might have audibled it. I mean, I'm in charge. I checked with the staff, i.e. me, and I looked at my calendar. Deer hunting's not open until the third week of November, so I'm good.
I'm there. Bring three of my kids. They love those conferences. I didn't get to meet you at Junk Con. I know you were there. I didn't get to meet you. Sorry about that.
You're lost. I'm fucking awesome. No, you know what I love about Junk Con? I had people, Taylor from Up and Way. He's like, hey man, I just want to come by and say, you know, I love the show. Thanks for coming on. I don't want to waste your time. I'm like, dude, fucking sit down. We sat for 2 hours. I'm like, I don't give a shit, dude. What are we doing here? You think I'm fucking somebody?
Yeah.
The difference between you and me is I have a podcast. That's it. Dude, I'm fucking humping junk every day in some capacity. Now he's been on the show twice. He's come and visited me. Him and Joseph from Joseph Junk Removal, who sold recently. Those guys came up and visited me here in Milwaukee. It's like, dude, I ain't fucking Joe Rogan. Like, get over yourself. I ain't the fucking Pope, you know? No, I will say I did really enjoy Junk Con. Shout out to JRA. What's that guy's name? Lee Godbold and his team. I do not, they don't pay me. I've never bought a thing from them. He was on the show. I will give a shout out that it was a good convention to see all the people. And now the opportunity is, what can I do to contribute to this industry in a way that Lee has done? I respect Lee and his team. And that was a good weekend because Casey and I felt like celebrities. Yeah. I mean, we're 108 episodes into this thing. This is what we do. I mean, last week when you responded right away on Facebook saying, yeah, I'd love to be on the podcast. Like, I was excited. I was so happy, right, to have you on. I was, because I was like, all I know about you is this fucking COGS calculator. And I was like, yeah, let's get this on the show. Like, what are we doing? You know? And then Casey called me like an hour ago. He's like, dude, I feel like shit sitting at, you know, CBS, whatever. And I'm like, oh, don't worry about it. Like, we got a guest. I'm good this week. Especially with you, because it's like we know a lot of the same people, right? This is a small industry, and the goal is to increase the professionalism, right, within this industry, so that the truck engine trucks either step up or step out, right? We want to drive home that we're not the Stanford and Sons anymore.
Practices. When I was at Motorola, everybody talked about best practices, right? So everything's data driven. You know, your spreadsheets, everybody's got a metric, got a procedure. And just amongst ourselves, we develop our own best practices, right? Like,
we get to decide what the standard is. If you don't have Proforma, you need to get one, you know, and talk to John or somebody. But it's Proforma, get a cost.
Proforma.
And then what I want, and we already do this in our company, track your disposal, track your recyclable, track all the material. Where does it go? And what can you do to be better? I know where we're at. Yeah. You know, we track how many loads. I mean, e-waste, I sent out 10,000 pounds of e-waste last week. I'm going to send out probably another 9,000 pounds this week. Like, that matters. Those weights matter.
Check this out. I've been doing this for 6 years now. My kids were in Boy Scouts. So we were there Sunday, yesterday. We hauled away $178 worth of e-waste that I got paid for the e-waste.
Yep.
And then I send it back to the Boy Scouts, and then they use it for their camping trips and stuff like that. But they raised $1,200. People drive by, drop off the electronics, right? They just want to get rid of it. And the Boy Scouts take it from one table, turn around, put it on another table, and have an auction, right? And there's all the electronics geeks that buy all this old stuff, right?
Oh my God, it's genius.
Whatever doesn't sell, I take, and I go sell it and give it back to the Scouts. But it's a really good program. I've been doing it for 6 years now.
I love that idea. How long have you been doing junk removal? Well, I never even Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right, well, here's the deal. I'm going to build a fucking board. I'm going to build a new industry, I'm going to build a new category within the recycling industry. Right now, we're going with resource allocation professionals or something. We're going to change. I'm going to find this. I've been working on this since the beginning of the year. This is like a new thing, but I use this platform so we can start talking about this. What does this look like, and who's going to get behind me? Even Andy Barton 2 weeks ago was like, "Man, I got to do more recycling like you do." Right? And there might be people on this that listen to this show or in these junk removal groups that think we're fucking nuts. Like, yeah, fuck that. I'm going to take everything to my landfill because it's $12 a ton. Thanks, Southern Alabama, Northern Florida, right? And good on them, right? You know what? Then you can't claim to be a professional. You can't be, claim to be a frontline recycler. And the customers in your market that value that aren't going to hire you because you don't do what they're looking for.
So here's a good question. Ask any junk guy, what's your metal recycle rate?
Yep.
What's your metric? Everyone should know their number. You know?
Yeah, start there. Start right. I always tell people start with metal recycling, then move on to electronics, then move on to whatever else pays in your market. You know, cardboard, magazines, books, clothes, shoes, belts, purses, mattresses, something, donations.
So yeah, we should be able to come up with a norm of metrics. Like for us, it's about 3% metal recycling, but we don't track our cardboard. Our e-waste is not a whole lot. Like this month, it was they pay us like scrap metal for the e-waste. So how do we break that down?
So we get paid. We get 18 cents a pound. So I just figured out what my take was, and that's that.
Okay.
You know. So if you got $180, you had, you know, what, 1,000 pounds at whatever, 18 cents a pound, whatever your weight is, you know?
Yeah. Like how many pounds did you keep out of the landfill this month?
Exactly. So that's the thing. There are certain conversions when you look at cubic yardage versus weight, and that's fine. So I measure everything in cubic yards and weight, and you got to have some level of liberty between the two. So if I get the cubic yards or I get the weight, I can make a justification out of the number, right? Like I know, like, look, when we do the cogs, I know one full trailer of scrap on average is 2,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Right. So that I know my averages. I know that 2,000 pounds is also equivalent to a ton. Right. And that's if I take one trailer right to the landfill, that's about what it's going to be. Yes. If it's all full of mattresses, it's less. If it's all full of, you know, exercise equipment, it's going to be more. Like, yes, we know that. And yet there's some level of tolerance where people can say, okay, what are we really doing to keep this stuff out of the landfill? And when you measure it, it'll get done. All right. I feel good. All right. John, you're going to be on the, what's that?
Let me show you some. Let me reach across here. It'll bring my back. Hang on. Check this out.
Ooh, that's hot. What is that? An old. Yeah. What is that?
This is, we got it.
That?
No, I didn't make it. We got it from a junk job.
What is it?
I have no idea, dude. So up at the top, you can it's got the levers, like the old car radios.
I know. It looks like a birdhouse made out of scrap.
I don't know. And then what else is on here? So it's got like a CD in there.
Yeah, I see a shitload of copper.
Yeah, and there's
a battery. Yeah. I
don't know. It was I don't know. It was an empty apartment we emptied out, and this was in there. And the guys brought it. I'm like, dude, that's like $40 of copper right there. You know,
that's a crackhead's weekend project right there. Although a crackhead would scrap that.
You know,
dude, that thing's awesome. It almost looks like the vehicle. What was that vehicle in Star Wars? When they're coming across Tatooine with the right there. That's what it looks like. The what was that? The fucking when they're chasing down C-3PO and R2-D2.
There's more. Look at this.
Oh my God! We got a cage. Is it open? Oh yeah, of course. You gotta have a keypad. I lied. No crackhead would give up that much copper. You know how much cocaine you could buy?
Crazy.
I love that thing.
I thought that was interesting.
All right, no, that was worth it. That was worth the extra 2 minutes of the show. All right, I love everything about that. All right, well there we go. John, you're going to be on the founding members or maybe the board of whatever this new thing is I build. To drive home the importance of responsible recycling and reallocation or allocation of resources as we're coming across them, as we're out servicing customers. And we're going to get rid of the word junk removal in due time, right?
Yeah, we'll give it something more admirable.
I like it. All right. Well, it's been a fun hour, 75 minutes. We're coming up on 75 minutes of the show. John, let's get to the big finish. What was your top takeaway from today's episode?
Today's top takeaway. There's other people like me out in the world.
You took mine. That was going to be mine. 100% was going to be like.
No, so humble beginnings make for a good life.
You know what? I was in my head. I already had it. I was like, all right, I'm going to talk about, you know, it when you start in the same place, you can run a parallel journey, right? You and I, very different, right? We're on the other sides of the country. Your father came to this country, immigrant, didn't speak English. right?
Yeah.
There's all this shit when it comes to immigration. I talked about that show last week. We're sitting there, we're talking about Xavier. He came from Venezuela. I am pro-immigration. I am pro-people that want to come to this country and work. We've got a bunch of lazy-ass people in this country that don't want to work. I am pro-first-generation immigrants. I'm first-generation off the farm, which is similar in the sense that my dad had to learn the way that society worked, and I haven't been corrupted by the idea of, corporate America and capitalism the way it's supposed to be. So I still got that fire inside of me to figure it the fuck out. So I love the fact that you and I, humble beginnings, right? I talk about it in my book. Even I don't call us poor. I don't call us low class. And yet I knew we drove around picking through trash, right? So whatever you call that, right? And yet those lessons learned are more important and resonate with me more than a 4-year college education at a private college that I went to, right? Those humble beginnings allow you to be successful. And for people that were not privileged with the humble beginnings, the people that grew up, maybe with a silver spoon up their ass, or they grew up not wanting, you got to find what you want, because that ability to be hungry every day is what's going to get you through the tough times. All these junk roll companies that came and went over the last couple of years, it's because they got in when it was easy. Right? Yeah. Easy come, easy fucking go. Like you said, you've been doing it for 10 years. You've been doing it all your life in some capacity. So when the ebbs and flows come, you're going to be consistent. You're going to be the constant advocate within your industry and within your business to ensure that you can survive for another day and thrive tomorrow. So my top takeaway is that we're on the same page. Humble beginnings, similar track, and we have a similar idea of what the future looks for this industry as we get to decide. We get to create this new industry. That was exciting. What a great show. All right. On behalf of Taylor, our producer, Casey Bubba Lawrence, who was out this week, he will be back next week. He was John. Say your last name because I don't want to fuck it up and I can't roll it. I want to say myself. Say it again.
John Aguirre.
John Aguirre. Man, I don't want to fuck it up, and I want to say it. We're going to leave it at that. All right. Next week, Taylor's going to tell me what next week, I know what we're talking about. We got this woman. I already forgot her name because that's what I do best. Anyways, she works for Waste Cap. So she works with companies and audits with all the stuff they put in the trash. What percentage of it could have been recycled? So it's going to be very eye-opening and interesting to hear from her. The Waste Cap's a nonprofit. I want to say her name is Stephanie. Am I right there? Stephanie. Oh, it was Stephanie. Yay, me. I thought it was Stephanie. And then Taylor put it in the private chat. Stephanie will be joining us to really talk about how what we do matters to large corporations and large companies. As we are the frontline recyclers, we are the resource allocation professionals, the rappers of tomorrow by our best practices today. Put that in the fucking tagline. Also, the episode name, just so you know, Every Man Needs a Spreadsheet. That is going to be the episode name. Thank you so much, my good friend over at Happy Junk Removal, John. John, stick around for a minute at the end of the show. We'll chat. I'm Andy. He's John. Casey, Taylor, all the people mentioned. And for all you listeners out there, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Tap subscribe or follow to get the latest episode. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave us a review and tell a friend to listen. To learn more, visit Trash Talk.